Welcome back to the Nocturnal Astronomer. I am Atlas Reed, and tonight we travel to Mercury, the smallest and swiftest planet, the one that circles closest to our star. We will board a calm, steady ship, settle into our seats, and drift away from Earth, through the quiet dark, past the sun's fierce light, toward a small grey world of cliffs, craters, and hidden ice. There is no rush tonight, just the low hum of engines, the soft glow of instruments, and the slow unfolding of a very old story, written in rock and shadow. Let's dive in. Part 1. Boarding the quiet ship. You step through the hatch of the ship, and the noise of the launch pad fades behind you. The air inside is cool and still. A soft light glows along the floor, guiding you toward a seat shaped to hold you gently, the way a hand might hold something small and precious. You settle into the seat, and it seems to know you, easing back just slightly, cushions shifting to support your shoulders and your neck. A safety harness rests across your chest, light as a blanket. Somewhere below you, a low hum begins, patient and steady, like a heartbeat. Through the window beside you, the sky is still dark, still full of stars, though the sun has not yet risen fully over the horizon. The glass is thick, built to hold back both the cold of space and the heat we will soon travel toward, near the innermost planet. A voice, calm and unhurried, moves through the cabin, checking systems one by one. Life support, steady. Navigation, steady. Shielding, steady. There is nothing dramatic about any of it, only the quiet confirmation that this vessel, built by careful hands, is ready to carry you somewhere far. You notice the small details around you. A cup holder built into the armrest, a soft blanket folded beside your seat, a dim reading light above your head. This ship was made not just to travel, but to be lived in, however briefly, by a traveller who deserves comfort. Outside, the ground crew steps back from the hull. Cables disconnect with a gentle click, and the last tether falls away. For a moment, everything is still, as if the ship itself is taking one slow breath before the long work of carrying you across the solar system begins. You feel a faint vibration beneath your feet. Nothing sharp or sudden, just the engines waking, cycling through their sequence with the patience of something that has done this before. There is no rush in this cabin, no urgency in this room, only preparation, careful and complete. You lean your head back against the seat and let your eyes half close. This is not a rocket built for speed alone. It is built to keep you steady, to keep you warm, to keep you whole, across a distance that would take most of us many months to close. A soft chime sounds, low and pleasant, letting you know the countdown has begun. You do not need to do anything. You only need to rest here, wrapped in this quiet machine, and let it do the work of carrying you gently away from the world you know. The engines shift into a lower, fuller tone, and you feel the faint press of motion, the first true sign that the ship beneath you has left its stillness. Ahead of you now lies open space, and somewhere far past it, a small grey world circling closest to the sun. Part 2. Leaving the Earth behind. The ship rises slowly at first, then faster, pressing you gently into your seat as the ground falls away beneath you. You watch through the window as clouds pass below, thin and white, and then the deep blue curve of the ocean opens wide beneath the ship. Within minutes, the sky outside your window turns from pale blue to a deep, endless black, and the stars, which had been hidden by daylight, begin to appear one by one, steady and unblinking, no longer dimmed by the thick blanket of air that once stood between you and them. You are now in orbit, circling the planet you were born on, moving at thousands of miles an hour without feeling any of that speed at all. The ship is smooth, quiet, almost still, the way a boat can feel calm even while crossing a great stretch of open water. Looking down, you see the whole shape of Earth for the first time, a curved blue marble wrapped in white clouds, its edges softened by a thin, glowing line of air. It looks smaller than you expected, fragile in a way that is hard to describe, precious beyond measure. The ship's engines fire again, a longer, steadier burn this time, and you feel yourself pressed gently back once more. This is the moment the ship breaks free of Earth's pull entirely, leaving the safety of orbit behind and turning its nose toward the inner solar system. Behind you, Earth begins to shrink, slowly at first, then more noticeably with each passing hour, until it becomes a small blue and white sphere hanging against total darkness, no bigger than a marble held at arm's length, holding everyone you have ever known. There is no wave of movement pushing you around the cabin, no rattling, no shaking. In the stillness of open space, the ship simply glides, carried forward by the push it has already received, needing very little more to keep travelling steadily onward for a long while yet. You notice how quiet it truly is out here. No air to carry sound. No birds, no rain, no distant traffic. Only the faint hum of the ship's own systems, a small, steady sound moving through an emptiness far larger than anything the human mind was built to hold. The pilot's calm voice returns briefly, noting that the ship has now left Earth's shadow completely and is beginning its long fall inward toward the sun and the small, swift planet that circles closest to it. There is nothing left to do now but settle in and wait. You pull the soft blanket over your lap and watch as Earth becomes smaller still, a pale blue marble now surrounded by uncountable points of light. Ahead of the ship lies weeks of steady travel, drifting deeper into the solar system toward a world of heat and shadow. Part 3. Into the long dark between. Out here, in the true dark between worlds, there is nothing to slow the ship down and nothing to speed it up either. Space itself holds no air, no resistance, no pull in any one direction. So once the ship is moving, it simply keeps moving, steady and unbothered. You might imagine a spacecraft racing forward the way a car races down a road, but it is closer to a stone thrown across still water, coasting on the push it already carries. The ship's engines fire only now and then, small, careful nudges rather than one long, constant push. Mercury sits, on average, about 57 million miles from the Sun, far closer than Earth's own 93 million miles. But being closer to the Sun does not make it an easy place to reach. In truth, it is one of the hardest planets in our solar system to visit. That may sound strange, since Mercury is nearer to us than distant worlds like Neptune or Pluto. The trouble lies in the Sun's own pull. Any ship heading toward Mercury is also falling toward the Sun, gaining speed the whole way, and needs careful, patient steering to avoid flying past it. The first ship to ever reach Mercury was Mariner 10, launched by NASA in 1973. It took about 147 days to arrive, using the pull of Venus along the way to help bend its path inward toward the small, sun-scorched world ahead. Decades later, a spacecraft named Messenger took a far longer road, nearly 6.5 years, looping past Earth, Venus, and Mercury itself several times before finally slowing down enough to be gently caught and held by Mercury's own quiet, modest pull. Aboard your own ship tonight, the journey unfolds more gently still. No rush, no long looping detours, only the steady drift of a vessel built for comfort rather than speed. Days pass by outside your window, marked only by the slow brightening of the sun ahead of you. You spend these quiet hours resting, watching the stars turn slowly as the ship rotates just enough to keep sunlight from striking any one side for too long. The cabin lights dim in the evening hours and rise gently each morning, keeping some soft rhythm of day and night. The silence out here is not empty exactly. It is full of distance, full of history, full of light that left its source long before you were born. Every star visible through your window is a small fire burning somewhere far away, sending its glow across years just to reach you. As the journey continues, the sun ahead grows slowly larger and brighter in your window, its light now sharper than anything you knew on Earth. The ship's shielding adjusts quietly to match, and somewhere ahead, still hidden in that brightness, the small grey world of Mercury waits patiently. Part 4. Approaching the Sun's Domain. With each passing day, the sun in your window grows a little larger, a little brighter, until it becomes almost too intense to look at directly. The glass darkens automatically to protect your eyes, filtering the glare into something softer, something you can watch without discomfort or strain. The ship itself begins to feel warmer, though never uncomfortably so. Sensors along the hull constantly measure the heat pressing in from outside, adjusting internal cooling to keep the cabin steady, calm, and pleasant, no matter how fierce the light beyond the window has become. Real spacecraft heading this way have relied on similar ideas. Messenger, the probe that once orbited Mercury, carried a sunshade built from a heat-resistant cloth, angled carefully to block the worst of the sun's glare, while still allowing its instruments to work steadily behind it. You are now deep inside what scientists call the inner solar system, the region closest to the sun, home to only 4 planets: Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars. Beyond this point, the sun's light and heat only grow stronger, shaping every rock and shadow that lies ahead of you. Mercury takes only 88 Earth days to circle the sun once, making it the fastest moving planet in our solar system. It travels at roughly 30 miles every second, racing along its path far quicker than Earth ever does, closer in and pulled harder by the sun's steady grip. That speed is part of why Mercury is such a difficult place to visit. A ship approaching too quickly might simply fly past it, caught by the sun's pull before it can settle into a steady path around the small planet waiting quietly ahead of you. Your own ship slows gradually now, Engines fire in short, careful bursts, easing its speed to match the rhythm of this inner region of space. There is no sudden stop, only a gentle, gradual softening of your motion, the way a boat slows before reaching a quiet harbour. Outside, you begin to notice something new, a faint grey shape against the black, still tiny, still distant, but unmistakably solid. It does not shine the way the sun does. It simply reflects a small, steady portion of that light back out into the surrounding dark. The pilot's voice returns once more, calm as always, letting you know that Mercury has now come into view, and that the ship's path has been adjusted to bring you gently toward it. You lean forward slightly, watching that small grey shape grow slowly larger with each passing hour. This is the moment every long journey works toward, the quiet turn from travel into arrival. Behind you lies weeks of steady drifting through open space. Ahead lies a small, sun-battered world, older than almost anything you have ever stood upon, waiting patiently to be explored. Part 5. First Sight of Mercury. Mercury drifts into full view now, no longer a faint grey shape, but a whole, rounded world, pitted and pale, hanging against the black like something ancient and quiet. It is the smallest planet in our solar system, smaller even than 2 of Jupiter's largest moons. Its diameter measures about 3,032 miles, roughly a third the width of Earth. If you lined up about 18 worlds the size of Mercury side by side, they would just about match the width of the planet you were born on. Despite being so small, Mercury holds together with a steady, believable roundness, its own gravity strong enough to pull it into a near-perfect sphere, the same quiet law that shapes stars, moons, and planets everywhere across the vast reach of the universe. Mercury has no moons of its own. Of all the planets in our solar system, only it and Venus circle the Sun entirely alone. Scientists believe Mercury's small size and the Sun's own strong pull nearby may have made it nearly impossible for the planet to keep a companion. From here, the ship's instruments confirm what astronomers have known since ancient times, that Mercury has been watched by human eyes for thousands of years, visible without any telescope at all, though only briefly, low on the horizon, just after sunset or just before sunrise. Its name comes from the swift messenger of Roman mythology, chosen because the planet appears to dart quickly across our sky compared to the other planets, finishing a full circuit of the Sun in only 88 days, faster than anything else orbiting our star. As the ship draws nearer, you can begin to make out texture across the surface, pale greys and soft browns, an uneven, rugged landscape, unlike the smooth clouds of Earth or the thick orange haze that wraps around Venus, its nearest planetary neighbour. There is no soft blue atmosphere here to blur the edges of things. Mercury's surface sits exposed and bare beneath the light of the sun, every ridge and hollow visible with a sharpness that Earth's own hazy sky rarely allows us to see so clearly. The ship begins a slow, careful turn, easing itself into a wide path around the small planet, matching its pace so that Mercury no longer rushes past the window, but instead holds steady, close enough now for its craters to begin resolving into clear individual shapes. You press your hand gently against the cool glass of the window, watching this small, sun-beaten world roll slowly beneath you. It has waited here, largely unchanged, for billions of years, long before Earth held oceans, long before anything on our world began to breathe. Part 6. A world cratered like the moon. As the ship settles into its path around Mercury, the surface below comes into sharper focus, and the resemblance to Earth's own moon becomes impossible to ignore. Pale grey plains stretch out in every direction, pocked with craters of every size, some tiny, some enormous. This resemblance is not a coincidence. Like our moon, Mercury has almost no real atmosphere left to protect it, so rocks and small bodies from space have struck its surface again and again across billions of years, each impact leaving behind a bowl-shaped scar in the wreck. Unlike Earth, where rain, rivers, and shifting ground slowly smooth away old wounds, Mercury has no weather at all to soften these marks. A crater formed here billions of years ago can look almost exactly as it did on the day it was first carved into the surface. NASA has now mapped the entire surface of Mercury, thanks largely to two careful missions, Mariner 10 in the 1970s and Messenger decades later. Together, they revealed a world that has been geologically quiet, largely unchanged, for a stretch of time longer than most of us can picture. Some craters here are small, no wider than a house. Others stretch for hundreds of miles, their walls rising in gentle rings, their floors smoothed flat by ancient flows of melted rock that later cooled and hardened long before anything resembling life first stirred on distant Earth. As your ship glides lower, you notice how the light falls differently here than it does back home. With no thick air to scatter and soften it, shadows fall sharp-edged and dark, giving every crater rim a crisp, almost carved appearance against the pale grey ground below. Some craters overlap one another, evidence of countless impacts stacked across long ages, each new scar cutting into the rim of an older one. Reading this landscape is a little like reading rings inside a tree, each layer telling a story of something that came before it. Between the larger craters lie smoother stretches of plain, likely formed long ago when melted rock rose up from below, filling in older wounds and settling into place before slowly cooling into the solid grey ground your ship now passes calmly and quietly above. The ship's outer sensors register the surface temperature shifting rapidly beneath you, cooler in shadow, blazing hot in open sunlight, a pattern you will come to understand more fully soon. For now, you simply watch, taking in this stark and quiet, moon-like world turning slowly below. There is a certain peace in looking at a place so old, so worn by time, and yet so steady. Mercury has weathered countless impacts without ever losing its basic shape, holding its story openly on its surface for anyone patient enough to come close and read it. Part 7. The Caloris Basin and the Weird Terrain. The ship's path now carries you toward one of Mercury's most remarkable features, a vast round basin known as Caloris, roughly 960 miles across, large enough to hold the entire state of Texas within its ancient, worn rim, with room left over. Caloris takes its name from the Latin word for heat, chosen because this basin sits in a stretch of Mercury that faces the sun most directly during certain points in the planet's orbit, making it one of the hottest patches of ground anywhere in our solar system. Scientists believe Caloris was carved out long ago by a single powerful impact, a body from space striking the young planet with enough force to hollow out a basin nearly 1,000 miles wide, surrounded by a ring of mountains rising roughly 1.25 miles high. That ancient strike did more than shape the ground where it landed. Energy from the impact travelled straight through Mercury's interior, gathering again on the exact opposite side of the planet, where it broke the surface into a strange, jumbled pattern of small hills and hollows. Scientists call this unusual region the Weird Terrain, a stretch of ground covered in odd, bumpy hills, each one only a few miles wide, rising in uneven little mounds, unlike anything found elsewhere on Mercury's otherwise fairly steady, cratered surface. Your ship drifts slowly above Caloris now, its floor smoother than the surrounding cratered plains, likely filled long ago by rising melted rock that settled and hardened after the original impact reshaped this part of the young planet forever. Later missions found signs of old volcanic vents along the edges of Caloris, places where melted rock once pushed up from below and spread outward across the basin floor, adding new layers atop the older, cratered ground beneath it. Looking down at Caloris, it is difficult not to feel a certain quiet respect for how much time has passed since that first impact. The scars from that single ancient strike still shape the ground beneath your ship, unhealed and unhidden after billions of years. The ship eases further along its path, giving you a wide, unhurried view of the basin's edges, its mountain ring catching sharp sunlight on one side, while the other falls into deep, cool shadow, a quiet study in contrast written across solid rock. As Caloris slips behind you, you carry with you a small reminder of how much history a single patch of ground can hold. How one moment long ago can still be read clearly today, in rock, in shadow, in the careful shape of a planet's surface. Part 8. Cliffs born from a shrinking world. The ship banks gently, bringing into view a different kind of feature entirely. Long, curving cliffs that cut across the landscape like folds in a heavy cloth. These are known as lobate scarps, and Mercury holds more of them than any other rocky world we have studied so far. One of the largest is called Discovery Rupace, a cliff stretching about 400 miles across the surface, rising in places to a height of roughly 1¼ miles, tall enough to dwarf almost any structure ever raised by human hands on Earth. These cliffs did not form from an impact, but from something slower and quieter, the planet's own interior cooling down across billions of years. As Mercury's core lost heat, the whole planet slowly shrank, just slightly, wrinkling its outer crust the way a grape softens and wrinkles into a raisin. This shrinking pulled the rocky crust inward, forcing sections of ground to push up and over neighboring ground, forming long curved ridges rather than sudden breaks. Some craters appear cut cleanly in half by these ridges, split apart long after they had already formed on the surface. It is a strange thing to consider that an entire world could shrink slightly and leave marks still visible from space, billions of years later. Mercury's cliffs are a quiet trace of a planet cooling down, slower than a human lifetime could ever measure or observe. Your ship follows the length of one such ridge for a while, its shadow stretching long and dark across the pale ground beside it. From this height, the cliff looks almost gentle, a soft fold in the landscape, though standing at its base would reveal something far taller and steeper. Mercury's core takes up an unusually large share of the planet, roughly 85% of its full radius, the largest core relative to its size found anywhere among the rocky planets. That great ball of mostly iron sits at the center of everything, shaping the surface above it. Some scientists believe part of Mercury's outer rocky layers may have been stripped away long ago by a powerful early impact, leaving behind a planet with an unusually large metal heart and only a thin rocky shell wrapped loosely around it. As the ship drifts onward, you find yourself imagining the slow, patient shrinking of an entire world, felt not in a single moment, but stretched across a length of time so vast it barely resembles anything measured by clocks, calendars, or a single human lifetime. Ahead, the ship's instruments register a shift in the ground below, rougher terrain giving way to something flatter, smoother, and far more still. Mercury has more to reveal yet, and the ship carries you steadily onward, unhurried, toward whatever quiet feature waits next along its surface. Part 9. Between Fire and Frost. Few places in our solar system swing between such extremes as the ground beneath your ship right now. On the sunlit side, temperatures can climb past 800 degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to melt lead, while the night side falls to nearly 300 degrees below zero. This vast swing happens because Mercury has almost no real atmosphere left to hold heat in place. On Earth, a thick blanket of air spreads warmth evenly and softens the difference between day and night. Here, with barely any air at all, heat simply escapes the moment sunlight fades. Mercury also moves in a rhythm unlike almost anything else we know. It spins once on its axis roughly every 59 days, while circling the sun once every 88 days, a steady 3-to-2 rhythm rather than matching its day and year exactly together. Because of that rhythm, a single sunrise to sunrise day on Mercury actually lasts about 176 Earth days, longer than the planet's own year. Imagine watching the sun set, then waiting nearly 6 months on Earth's calendar before it finally rises again. Mercury does hold a very thin layer of gas close to its surface, so faint that scientists call it an exosphere rather than a true atmosphere. It is made mostly of oxygen, sodium, hydrogen, helium, and potassium, particles knocked loose from the ground by sunlight and small impacts. This thin exosphere cannot hold in heat the way Earth's air does, nor could it support breathing of any kind. It behaves more like a faint mist of scattered particles, drifting close to the surface before slowly escaping back out into open space. Long ago, the Mariner 10 mission made a discovery few expected, that Mercury carries its own magnetic field, roughly 1% as strong as the one surrounding Earth. For a planet this small and this slow spinning, that quiet magnetic hum was a genuine surprise. Scientists still study how such a small world manages to hold on to any magnetic field at all, tracing it back to slow, steady movement deep within Mercury's large iron core, a faint but real echo of the same process shaping the magnetic field around our own planet. Your ship's own instruments register this faint magnetic presence as you pass, a gentle signal rising from far below the cratered ground, proof that even a small, quiet world can still carry something moving steadily within its deep, hidden heart. As your ship continues its slow path above the surface, you find yourself holding both facts together, a place of blazing heat and bitter cold, a small world with a large heart, steady rhythms hidden inside what first looked like nothing more than silence and grey stone. Part 10. Ice in the shadows at the poles. The ship now turns toward one of Mercury's poles, and the view outside your window changes once more. Craters here sit deeper, their far inner walls never once touched by direct sunlight, holding shadow so complete that scientists call these places permanently shadowed ground. Mercury's axis barely tilts at all, less than 1 degree from straight up and down, meaning the floors of these polar craters never tip toward the sun, no matter the season. Inside them, temperatures stay locked near some of the coldest readings found anywhere in our solar system. In 1991, astronomers using the Arecibo radio telescope on Earth noticed something strange. Patches near Mercury's poles that reflected radio waves in a way that closely matched frozen water rather than bare rock, a puzzling signal from a planet known mostly for its heat. Decades later, the Messenger spacecraft settled into orbit around Mercury and turned its instruments toward those same polar regions. By late 2012, its readings and images confirmed what astronomers had long suspected: real water ice resting quietly inside these permanently shadowed craters. It is a strange and gentle kind of wonder, knowing that a planet capable of reaching temperatures hot enough to melt lead also holds hidden pockets of ice tucked away in shadow, undisturbed for what may be millions of years, just beyond the reach of sunlight. Your ship eases down now, gliding low above one such crater, its floor lost in deep shadow, even as sunlight blazes brightly along the rim just above it. Somewhere below, unseen but confirmed by careful science, lies frozen water older than most things on our own world. You imagine for a moment stepping out onto that quiet, shadowed ground yourself. The deep cold pressing in around a suit built to hold warmth close. Your boots settling gently onto ice that has rested there since long before Earth's own history had truly begun. The ship holds steady here a while longer, letting you take in this last quiet corner of Mercury, a small, sun-battered world that still finds room somewhere within its coldest hollows for something as soft and familiar as frozen water. Slowly, gently, the ship begins to turn away from the crater's rim, engines humming low as it eases back into a wider path above the planet, preparing for the long, quiet journey that will eventually carry you home, back across the dark toward Earth. As Mercury falls slowly behind the ship, you take one last look at its pale, cratered surface, its long cliffs and quiet ice, and let yourself simply rest here a while longer, wrapped in the calm hum of the ship, drifting gently back through open space. And on that note, our journey to Mercury comes gently to its close. We stepped aboard a quiet ship, left Earth behind, crossed a long stretch of open dock, and stood, in a manner of speaking, above a small, scarred world of heat, cold, cliffs, and hidden ice. There is something steadying in a place like Mercury, a world that has weathered billions of years of impacts, sunlight, and slow inner change, and still holds its shape, still turns quietly around the sun, patient and unhurried, long after everything that first struck it has been forgotten. We often carry our worries as though they were the largest thing in the room, filling every corner of our attention until nothing else seems to fit. But against a world like Mercury, against distances measured in millions of miles, our worries begin to look a little smaller. This is not meant to make your concerns feel unimportant. It is meant instead as a kind of relief, a reminder that you exist within something far larger than any single hard day, any single hard year, any stretch of worry that feels endless while you sit inside it. Mercury has sat there, circling the sun, for roughly 4.5 billion years, largely unnoticed by anything except starlight and the occasional passing ship. It will likely sit there for billions more, steady and unbothered, long after every worry we carry tonight has quietly passed. Thank you for joining me on this journey to Mercury, for stepping aboard, for resting here a while as we drifted together across the dark and back again. I hope some small part of this quiet, cratered world stays with you through the night. See you next time.